I'm Julie Hirt, and with me as always is Kate Foggo, who makes me laugh, as you can tell, because we are making like two humans being. Today we are talking about letting go. And yes, you can cue the soundtrack from Frozen because that's what's been playing in my head for the last several weeks. I don't know why. I keep getting emails, messages, conversations served to me about letting go. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I mentioned it to Kate, and she's in the same place. So of course, synchronicity. And so that's what we talk about today is letting go and where it takes us. I would say particularly me and Kate helping me work through it. I find it to be uplifting and wonderful as always. So thank you, Kate. So here's our episode on letting go. Please let us know what you think. We very much welcome feedback. We would love to hear what topics you would like us to discuss as well. So leave comments below. Show notes are below. Subscribe to us. Click the little bell, and then you'll get notified when we have new episodes, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. But for now, here's the show on letting go.
So full transparency, I have not listened to what you sent me. I did read it. I don't know if there's more in meditation. There's a couple of things come up about that, which I will say later. I don't know when I last spoke to you, there's so much stuff has come up and I think, oh, I must talk about that. And then a few days later, it's all over, isn't it? But when you said about letting go, because I've had loads of stuff come up that has been so meaningful to me, to Louise, my friend who I swap healing with. I had a session with another colleague. I don't know how relevant it was. It felt relevant to me. I'm not sure if she felt it was relevant. And then I had a session with Mum this morning, and it came up again. I was like, I just can't believe that things are given to you with such divine timing when you need them. And this is all Matt Kahn stuff. But I was like, oh, I really want to talk about that. But when I read your thing about letting go, I have started doing yoga. I am on day 14. Yay, get me 30 days of yoga. It's getting a little bit harder. It's only like 20 minutes, but I was like, this is a commitment to exercise. I haven't, other than the yoga that I do every other day, and I'm not doing that anymore. I don't do anything apart from swimming, which isn't technically exercise. But I thought, so I'm really pleased with myself. And today was letting go. So there's a little tagline on every day, and I was like, okay, so letting go has spoken, and I will just trust that all the things I want to talk about, which I can't actually bring to mind right now, will just, as Abraham always says, will weave into the cracks one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I think we should just let go and go with it.
Okay.
What I will say, and this is interesting because this is possibly a workaround or a soul purpose, I'm not sure. Well, I first read, so to be clear to the audience, you sent me the, now I was going to say it's Matthew J. Fox, but it's not, is it? It was.
It's Matthew Fox, no J.
Yeah. When I read his stuff, so it said Mr. Meister Eckhart, and I thought it was a play on words about Eckhart Tolle.
Oh.
And I was thinking, that's awfully high English for Eckhart Tolle. Do you know what that really, this shows my probably insecurities. I'm not sure, I'll explain why, but because it's written in quite what I would say formal, almost religious English. Not religious, that's not the right word. Do you know what I mean?
Which part? What thing?
All of it. Every bit he writes is written in quite what I would consider high, maybe that's not the right word, it's quite formally written. It uses language which is bordering on archaic, I would say. Oh. And it puts me off. I don't know if it's because it intimidates me, or whether I do think that one of my soul's purpose is to make light of things and bring it to the... Now, I wouldn't say on the one hand, I like to think I'm one of the people. On the other hand, I'm quite attached to my superiority. So I'm not, and I'm quite attached to my intellect. So that's probably not true, but I do get, it is, I don't know if it's a workaround, as I say, or if it's just an observation of when things are written in such a way that it makes it inaccessible for other people, it really annoys me. And I find I just switch off comment.
I don't know what to say, only because that's not been my experience with Matthew Fox. So,
that what you sent me, is it not written in? It'll be really tedious and read it out on. Oh, it must have been an email.
Was it okay?
In the email,
yeah,
the language that it used. Now, of course, I can't find it. This is really good TV, isn't it?
Today's email or yesterday's? What's
right? Daily meditation with Matthew Fox.
Letting Go continued, that one from March 22nd.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all is letting go and all the work of the via negative. Maybe it's just that I'm not familiar with all the terms. Negative, Eckhart placed in the context of goodness, and the via positivity. After all, that is where we derive our trust, which is so important as we sink eternally from letting go to letting go into. Okay, maybe it's just that it's a bit obscure. Yeah, maybe it's just a bit. Maybe I'm just a bit thick, Julie. It just feels quite obscure.
Oh, I wouldn't say you're thick. I read him. Well, okay, so I've had more exposure to him, and I discovered him through the Shift Network, which is like an online Omega Institute kind of a thing. Like they offer a bunch of classes on metaphysical, anything, healing, whatever. And I found his course on Hildegard of Bingen, which was the mystic. So that's my first entrance into it. And so he talks about, from a mystic perspective, there's 4 paths. Are they 4 paths to enlightenment? I'm probably going to get this wrong because I don't know enough yet. Everybody's still studying.
I have to correct you. You always know enough, Judy.
I know enough for right now. Yes. Thank you for that. And he pulls in, he takes a theme, what's on his mind, which is a lot of times it's activism of some kind, whether it's patriarchy across the board or climate change, he's very much active in, or whatever. And right now he's very much focused on Ukraine and the rise of toxic masculinity, which has been an ongoing theme of his. And Putin is absolutely demonstrating all the points that Matthew Fox tries to make about toxic masculinity. And when he tries to talk about it, because he's a former Dominican priest, I was making sure I had the right order. He pulls in the mystics too to describe, and Meister Eckhart is a mystic, not Eckhart Tolle, a different guy.
Oh, I realized that afterwards.
Yeah, but there's 4 paths, and one is the via positiva, one is the via negativa, one is the via creativa, and one is the via, of course I don't remember the 4th one. Doesn't matter right now. Anyway, but any given, it's almost like, I'm not even gonna compare it to that. It's just like there's lots that you can see life activating any one of the 4 at any given time. And in those transformational paths, one can move through enlightenment to some degree. So not to some degree, that's how. So that's what he's talking about. But it was more, to me, it was more the idea of letting go, because for me too, like you were saying, it keeps coming up. Like my guides, so my guides keep telling me, do nothing. Like, I'm okay, what am I supposed to do today? Like I enter my little tent with my guides and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do today? What am I working on today? And lately, like weeks now, nothing.
Are they saying nothing, or are you hearing not one thing?
No, I hear them say, do nothing. Do nothing, which they're showing me too is more time in meditation, more time in quiet, stop doing, like, because I'm trying to fill my calendar with appointments and meetings and work, and I'm trying to fill my bank account with money and whatnot, because we've had some things hit us financially, and I'm trying to not make sure nobody's worried, everybody's happy, all that type of stuff. And my guides keep going, nothing, do nothing. And anyways, and just as I sat down here, like I'm like, okay, I'm all excited. I was on time, except for my water bottle. I was mostly on time today. I'm like, woohoo. I sat down and I'm like, ugh, ugh. And I just got this wave of you over me, and it's rainy and gray and cold again. And I have a sty on my eye, like my eyelid's all swollen. So I can't wear makeup, which is also forcing me to let go of like parameters. I don't know.
You normally wear makeup?
Yeah, just a little bit, like around my eyes. Just, yeah. Oh, which is another thing. So then I was watching this reminds me, it's pouring right now. I was watching one of our previous episodes, you know how like we'll exchange the episodes to see what we think. And it was the episode where I was trying to wear contacts again, because I was trying to just look like more my profile picture and whatnot. And I thought I looked terrible. I'm like, why am I like I like me with the glasses much better. Why? What am I doing? Just stop it. So there's like this letting go of what I think I should be doing, where I think I should be going. Lucas is working with me on what is it that I need for myself, and to say it and to stand by it, and letting go of everything else. I don't know. That was a lot.
How's that going?
I keep reminding myself it's better, but I keep having to remind myself of it.
So just small deviation, we'll come back to this obviously, but if your guides are saying do nothing, how's your time going? Do you feel in control of your time now that you're doing less?
That's interesting that you asked that. I feel like the days go by faster. It's wild. And I'll look back and I'll think, because I still have to-do lists and whatnot. And I have some freelance work I am doing. And I keep thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna get it all done. Oh my gosh, like the night before. And I hear my guides go, it's okay. Let go and do nothing. Like just let go. Take the time you need for yourself. And then I end up looking at the end of the day, I look back on what I did do marketing wise, and I actually did a lot. It's weird.
Okay, so you find that you are achieving stuff.
Yeah.
Because I find I'm doing less. Well, I'm doing less of what's on the list, but I more and more cannot account for my time. And I'm wondering if you don't get the value of letting go until you don't get the value of doing nothing until you're actually okay with doing nothing, which I'm not sure that I am. I still have residual resistance and judgment over doing less.
Yeah.
So would you say that you're okay with doing nothing?
Of course not. No.
You are seeing the value of it.
I absolutely see the value of it. And I will even say that in the definition of do nothing for them, what the guides are telling me, there is the one thing, if I have to do something, is meditate. Like be quiet, be still. Like those are things to do. So the do nothing is really more around that. It's just, they're trying to say, don't feel like you have to jump from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. But to feel at the end of the day, when my husband comes home, the first question I get is, so what'd you do today? For me to be able to answer nothing, or to answer, I meditated, or talked with my guides, or Lucas says this, not really going to fly. Not really going to, and see, I'm going to start defending, but not that he doesn't, there's support. And then there's also the eye roll that comes with it. when I.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It's not just a hello, how are you response.
Who, from him? When he says, what did you do today? Oh, yeah. No, it's because if I don't answer immediately, typically we then take the dog for a walk, and the whole time he's trying to get me to talk through everything that I've done that day.
Why?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him why. I think when I have asked him, he said before, it's just, I just want to know what's all going on.
Yeah.
But there's nothing going on. There's not nothing that I really want to talk about. And it's so interesting too. On the flip side of that, when there's something I really want to talk about, invariably, and we'll be on a walk, his kids will call and won't even, I'm in the middle of a sentence. I won't even finish, and he's already picking up the phone and starting a conversation. So I'm like, did you even listen to what I said beforehand? I don't know.
For a law of attraction, so I'm glad that I'm not sitting beside you so you can't smack me. But from a law of attraction perspective, if you're bringing this all to yourself, you're bringing the need to justify what you did with your day. And you're bringing what I have to say is not worthy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So do I just keep talking?
I think it's deeper than that, in that because this is where law of attraction rubber hits the road, isn't it, really? If the universe is showing you that he is not prioritizing what you have to tell him, that's showing you that you're not prioritizing what you have to tell him.
Oh.
As in, you are either expecting him not to care, or you don't care yourself, sort of, not that you don't care yourself, obviously, but that you have. So when you're saying that you have something to talk about, how would you categorize that, what it is you want to talk about? Is it something you want his agreement, something you want his buy-in, something you just want to share?
Share. It's more like I share.
It sounds to me, this is just intuitive, this is just guessing actually, it's not even intuitive. Something you want his approval on.
Probably because I want him to, yeah, that makes sense. Because I want him to I want him to embrace.
Well, say no more. Say no more. I want him to. Enough said.
Yeah.
You're looking for something from him, as opposed to, this is what I've got, and people will come to me because this is interesting. Not quite sure how it ties into letting go, but this is exactly what the Matt Kahn thing is. Exactly. Is that our whole lives are about, I know it's a cliche, but seeking approval from other people that you're never ever going to get. And all our dissatisfaction and all our angst in the world is about not getting, approval's a loose term, but not getting the approval, recognition, admiration, enthusiasm from other people. That is the source of all our suffering, when actually they can never give you all of that, and you have to stop looking for it. And until you stop looking for it because you've got it within yourself, it doesn't, even if you get it, it's not going to mean anything, because it doesn't. Because if Brad came home and said, fucking hell, Julie, that was marvelous, well done, would you feel better? Maybe momentarily, but would you feel vindicated somehow?
Right now, yeah.
See,
yeah.
I was thinking, when Gary said about like the shed once, and he said, oh, you've done a really good job, actually makes me uncomfortable, because I'm not used to receiving praise, because he's Scottish and he's male, so he's a bit mealy-mouthed, and mostly because it's like it's a generation thing, but a generation before, it's like my parents they don't see the need to, it's very new age to have to share your feelings about everything. I'm not sure it actually made me feel any better. I mean, momentarily, nice to get that recognition from him. Did it soothe my underlying unworthiness? I don't work hard enough? No, not really. Not really. If I tell you that I think you work really, really hard, Julie, and I think you do an amazing job, does it actually make you feel less unworthy, other than momentarily?
not, so here's the thing. Coming from you or any of our colleagues, it doesn't mean, I mean, so many of our colleagues say, oh, Julie, you're so busy, you're so busy, you're so busy. Like, nah. But Brad, for him to say it would be a lot. It's.
So I don't think that's about, because I don't think you don't trust my judgment in your worth.
Yeah.
I think it's that Brad, as with Gary, for me, is my, not nemesis, that's not the word, but he's almost like the, it's not even a puppet, what's the word? He's the representation of the lacking that I feel within. He is the physical manifestation of what I'm trying to build up within myself. So when I please him, it means I need to be pleasing myself, if that makes sense.
Like the mirror to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of letting go, the letting go would be that both you and I are still, however we dress it up, looking for that approval, that vindication, that you are doing the right thing and this is where your worth is, and it's not about the money, it's about the value. I mean, I look at, like, I'm just doing my taxes, and you know, if I'm to add up how much money I've made in the spirit, not the guest house, the other side of my business, it's not going to amount to a lot. And I quite often have opportunities to make money and then I give it away. But then I look at my diary and all these things that are filling my time, and I think, do you know, there's no amount of money in the world right now that can replace what I'm going through with Mom, for example, the you know, the stuff that we're sharing and how we make each other feel about that. There's no amount of money in the world that can, you know, when you and I give each other coaching or anything like that, like, you know, that's value. That's not about how much money changes hands.
Yeah.
You know, so when I think about it that way, it's like, why do I need to justify to a third party, or really to myself, how much money I'm bringing in, when that's actually not that's not how I value things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still, so I think the letting go is yet another step of, I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. I genuinely don't care. Not I'm standing in this position where I say I don't care, but I actually feel no need to justify myself to Brad, to Gary, to tell people how hard I work.
Yeah, I do. I mean, even Saturday, was it? My parents took somebody to the airport. So they live about a half hour away. The airport's here where I live. So they brought somebody from their town to the airport, and then they said they were going to stop by and they were going to be here 1:30, 1:45. Fabulous, because I had a reading that was to end at like 1:45 or something like that. So I thought, perfect, the reading's going to end. I'll have time to vacuum up the dog hair because nobody likes the dog hair. Even though I try to rebrand it as glitter, nobody's buying it. Doesn't matter. It's my house. I do dog hair. So, but I did want to at least vacuum off the couch so that Mom could sit and I wouldn't get shit. And there goes a feather. So I'm finishing up the reading because we end up talking. The client and I have a ton in common. So we just started chatting really quickly. And I see my dad pull up and it's not yet 1:00. And I'm like, for the love of God. But I'm like, okay, fine, whatever we're going. So I tell the client, I'm so sorry, I have to go. My dad just pulled up and he wasn't supposed to be here. So I go and meet them at the door and I say, oh, you know, you guys are early. I was just finishing up with a reading. And I tell them, reading, the woman has a ton in common with us, all of us, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was super interesting. And I just get, yeah. And they start walking in my house. They don't even say anything. And I'm like, oh. Yeah, so that just, when you said the needing for validation or whatever, I'm like, the guides were just like, yeah, remember when your dad showed up early and how deflated it felt when you tried to share what you.
So when you were in your marketing job,
mm-hmm.
Would you have got that validation from them?
Yeah. 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 I know.
So if they'd come in and you've gone, I just signed up a really big client.
Yeah. 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 I would have gotten like now, if I say, they'll ask me, what do you got going on? And I'll say, well, I've got some marketing clients and readings. They're like, oh, well, they'll ask about the marketing clients. They won't ask about the other
Do
stuff.
you ask them why? Do you think it's that they don't understand, or do they just think it's a hobby, or what?
I don't know. No, I've never asked why. I've never asked why. I don't know if I'd ask my mom anyway, but I would most likely ask my dad, but I don't know. That's a sticky wicket.
Yeah, but if you know, if you are almost hiding it from them, is it any wonder they just brush past it?
Yeah.
It's become so, the whole world, the whole way everything works to me has just suddenly crystallized about how beautifully simple it is. It doesn't make it any more accessible, but it's so beautifully simple. It is all about our perception of everything. This is the other thing that Matt Kahn was saying, and I can't get the transition quite well, I have to listen to it again, but he's basically saying, and this was an old thing he pointed, it's like a 5-year-old one, but he said, you know, so all this about we're looking for it for someone else, and he says, but actually what you need to do from a position of strength is to be in a position where you're not looking for it, because you genuinely don't give a shit. You have enough value in yourself that if other people want a part of it, brilliant. But if they don't, you are completely unfazed by it. These are my words, not his. He probably said it better. That what he said to do, and I've actually started doing it this week, is to praise yourself at every opportunity, as in, he said, make it ridiculous. That you pick up a cup and you go, my God, look at the muscles in my arm. Isn't it amazing that I have this dexterity, this fluidity? Because he says that you can't actually do anything wrong. There is no such thing as a mistake. Right. That if you consider, so this is he talks about 5D spirituality as opposed to 3D. And he says in the 5D spirituality, you know, if you accept that every action that happens has happened as a result of the universe orchestrating it, which we agree, right? Right. So if it has happened because the universe orchestrated that action, it has to be right. There is nothing wrong. You can do no wrong. That has been orchestrated by the universe, therefore it's right. The free will of humans comes in how you perceive that. Nothing to do with what you do or don't do. The doing, the actions, the things that happen have been orchestrated in perfection by the universe. Your role in this world is how do you perceive that, and how much joy can you take from it? And suddenly it just turns everything around. You're not convinced?
No, I'm convinced. I'm just trying to see.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah. Say it again.
So now, okay, I wrote it down. No, I couldn't write it all down, obviously, because you start writing things down, don't you? And then you realize you're just going to end up transcribing a 4.5-hour video. But because everything he says, it's funny because I love Matt Kahn. I do find him quite obscure at times. But here, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the video. My phone just jumped off. So it's a video. So if you Google "Feel Good Now" Matt Kahn, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
In every moment, you are always doing something right, because every action has already been orchestrated by the universe. The free will is how you perceive that moment and the quality of your experience. Feeling good about yourself is simply determined by how often do I notice what I'm always doing right. This is so true for you and I, Julie. Everything is about how well we do something, how good we are, whether, you know, all of that. So if you can perceive that what you're doing is right, I don't like the word right, that is really what, we would be happy. If you felt that everything you did was right. So feeling good about yourself is simply determined by how often do I notice what I'm always doing right. The spiritual illusion is, if I turn away from looking at the things I'm doing wrong, I'll have all of those incompetent qualities inside of me. So this is referring to his saying that in what he calls 3D spirituality, we're looking at the pain and releasing it, or the negative beliefs and working through them and releasing them. And he said the thing is, you actually get in a cycle where, and he doesn't talk about law of attraction, but it is essentially like law of attraction, in that you are in the cycle of seeking out the things you're doing wrong and fixing them, that you can then get stuck in a cycle of seeking out and finding, you know, rather than just moving past them and going, okay, I'm done with that. So the spiritual illusion is, if I turn away from looking at what I'm doing wrong, I'll have all these incompetent qualities inside of me. I won't be looking at myself under a microscope, and then they're just going to wreak havoc, which I think is hilarious. Like, if I'm not constantly correcting myself, self-analyzing and balancing out all the things I find in my beliefs, if I'm not doing that, then they'll just go crazy and take me over. That's the sort of background fear to not fixing yourself constantly. And he says the truth is, if you just focus on what you're doing right and blast yourself with some high power Care Bear energy, all the stuff you find under a microscope will simply disappear. You're doing everything right. Every mistake is a miracle. You're doing it right. It's just not matching up with what you want, because you're hallucinating that what you want is something other than this moment, because you haven't learned to feel good about yourself. When you feel good about yourself, magically all the things you've ever wanted are the only things that will show up. That's called alignment. Fucking mind-blowing.
Okay, so all right, so this is, I want some help here. So it's going through the day, there are moments when I do feel really good about either I've had a really good reading, or I've had a really good walk with Lucas, or I've appreciated the fact that he was trying to get me outside anyway, or I can feel like my leg, the one that he broke, you know, is working well, and, you know, lots of different things. And I'm just happy, right? And the birds are singing, the trees are talking to me, everything's going right. And I feel really good about everything. I feel great about where we live, like in the house. I just love all of this. And then when he gets home and he starts asking me the questions, then really it's more about the opportunity for me to stay in that really good feeling, instead of thinking, I'm just going to say it this way, because I'm just going to say it this way, but instead of him asking me the question, me looking at it as a mirror and going, oh wait, maybe I didn't do it, maybe everything I did or what I did wasn't good enough, going, oh no, I was at a really positive day today, and I feel really good about all the things that I did. I feel good about me. Like right now, I feel like that, just shifting that little bit, instead of trying to list out all the stuff. because I hate listing out all the shit. I don't care.
And again, you like,
right?
The minute you go into listing mode, you're in justifying mode.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I hate it. That's why I
don't do it. It's not his fault, Julie.
Huh?
It's your fault. It's not his fault.
That. Yeah. No, I realize that. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to understand how I recognize it so I can be aware.
I'm going to connect to my guys, because this is interesting, because this is something I know what I want to say, but I don't know if this is no, they're saying go ahead. So you know it's coming.
Yeah.
Right? Every time.
Every day. Yeah.
So I've lost it. It just went like that. Hang on. Okay. If you can frame it as, this is my opportunity to share what a wonderful day I've had, as opposed to
bracing yourself.
Yeah, I did this tick and then this tick and this tick.
Yeah.
And I paid the insurance, and then only talk about in the terms that you described to me, instead of trying to make it sound like work, which I don't know if you do, I find see, this is what I can't work out time-wise. Had I done my little epiphany video when I spoke to you last time, I had an epiphany about the shed.
Oh.
So all this has only been a week. Okay, this is all letting go, man, even though it's all a bit like that. I woke up and I wasn't consciously trying to think of anything, and the words came into my head: the shed is easy money.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, you did talk about that. Yeah.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Right. So I did a video, but this is it. In talking about it on the video, it realized that I still am struggling with how I want everyone to know how hard I work. Why? Who? Like, what? And yet, on the other hand, consciously, I'm very open about the fact I don't want to do anything and I want to retire. Why do I have this huge conflict? Why is it not okay for me to say, I did fuck all today and I loved it? I absolutely loved it. Why can't I be, it's like I just have this conflict, because actually I think that I don't see anything inherently wrong with doing nothing. I mean, but there are still little bits inside me that go, oh, don't want to admit to that. Yeah. And to me, it's so illogical, because exactly who I'm trying to prove it to. Gary, is Gary going to leave me? He doesn't know what I do all day.
Right.
He doesn't know. Why do I, it's just all nonsense. So the letting go is about, like, why do I feel I need to justify it? Like, to whom? For what? For why? It's hard. And yet so beautifully simple. Just stop caring.
I know. Well, there is a caring about oneself, right?
Yes, but stop caring about how other people perceive what you're doing.
Yeah, external.
Because if you care enough about what you're doing and you have enough faith in the value of what you're doing for yourself, they'll see it as well. Your words and your lists are not going to make them see you any differently to how you see yourself.
Yeah. So 2 references. One is in Matthew Fox's thing that I forwarded to you, where it's like in the first paragraph. This is from everybody. We'll put it in the notes. It's from the March 22nd meditation. But the first paragraph does mirror this transformed knowledge that includes an unknowing. And then she says, does this mirror Otto Rank's invitation to move beyond the rational alone and to allow more than rational into our lives? So to me, and I like how it's not rational versus non-rational. It's rational versus more than rational, or rational,
Yeah, I like that.
I like that a lot. And because that's the part, there's chewy bits for me, as our wonderful teacher Danielle McKinnon would say, juicy bits for me, because it's that rational aspect in which I feel I must prove my worthiness. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the more than rational, which is this inner work, the spirituality, whatever it is, all the things, the more alignment with the universe, the divine, all of that, that's the more than rational. That's the thing. Those are the things we're working on. And where everybody's worthy, regardless of where they are in their journey. It doesn't matter. But so I'm just putting that out there because I just thought that was interesting, to move beyond the rational as a way to understand the justification. The other thing, though, which is so interesting to me, where did I put it? Oh, don't tell me I deleted it, because I probably did. So I subscribe to this thing called, I gotta find it now, Notes from the Universe. I love this thing. A friend of mine turned me onto this a couple years ago. And every day you get an email. It's done by Mike Dooley. We can put notes to this in the show notes too. And he actually has an app. Why it's not loading, I don't know. It usually
wants you to do it from memory.
I know, but the note today was, about letting go of what, to some degree, what the expectations were of everybody around me, what my own expectations of what I think achieving greatness is. Because I do have a goal in my mind, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna, until I make that goal, I'm not gonna, nothing's gonna be worthy. And I'm just like, and the odds of succeeding in that goal are like 1,000,000 to 1, I'll just say, because it's pretty big. Okay, here it is. So I just found it. Okay. Let the status symbols you seek most, Julie, he's wonderful because his platform lets him insert your names. It's fabulous. Let the status symbols you seek most, Julie, be self-made adventures that excite you at dawn, challenge you by day, and surprise you by night. Self-made, quote unquote, being the operative word. And then he says, creatorhood rocks the universe. I just love these little notes that he sends every single day. So for me, like, let the status symbols you seek most be self-made. Like, why am I, it's going back to that approval from others, because this huge goal I have is a huge approval from.
What is it, President of the United States?
No, although I would rock that, but no.
Can you share? Will you share? You don't have to.
No, I'll leave it out there. So I don't feel like worthy enough to say it. So no, but yeah. So anyway, let the status symbols you seek most truly be self-made adventures that excite you at dawn. Yeah, I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately, about, because I also, like I might have mentioned after Christmas, the Pope talked about littleness. God is found in all the little things, the littleness of everything. His point being that when Jesus was born, the first people that were alerted were shepherds, weren't kings or queens, it was shepherds. And then the baby himself was little, all the little things that make a difference. And I'm just like, look at all the people that make a difference. You know how I talk about everybody has a piece of pie. Everybody has in their own little way, and they leave a mark. And you go through a cemetery and you see all these people that left, were sons and daughters and fathers and mothers and brothers, and everybody left a mark. Everybody's here. Everybody has a role to play, and at the same time, we're all connected. And I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it doesn't matter. I don't need, what it's saying to me is, I don't need the status symbol. I just need to do what makes me feel happy. And in that is the worth. And that's huge.
So one of my, I keep meaning to do like a series of, I always have these ideas and I never bring them to anything, but it was a sort of the accidental spiritualist or something like that, or maybe it's not accidental, but I have a friend at work also called Gary, who brain the size of a planet and everything, when he was really so well read in so many diverse subjects, challenging in his own way because he was an engineer and he didn't take any shit, but he would come out with this stuff that like now I see as like spiritual gems. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that told me it's more important to be happy than to be right. Like that phrase changed my life. Not at the time. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? But it actually sums up 90% of spirituality. It sums up forgiveness, it sums up everything. It's all about, it doesn't matter whether you're right. Stop trying to prove you're, stop caring about whether you're right. It's not about being right. It's about being happy, which again harks back to what we said last week, which is like, again, all these behaviors that, and essentially religion, had it not been corrupted by people who are looking for power, was all about behaviors that will help you to be happy, to help you lessen your load of, okay, religion hasn't done this, but it should have done. I mean, Jesus was all about forgiveness, but it's about forgiving yourself. It actually wasn't about forgiving other people. That was his message. All about making you feel better. Nothing to do with being good, being right. And the irony of all of this, again, is that being right has nothing to do with good and bad. It's all to do with expectation, convention, all these things, culture, education, all these things, and none of them are to do with right and wrong, if such things exist even. Yeah, well, this is getting a bit deep, isn't it? But it's about a way of life that makes you happy, not about being a good person.
Yeah.
It's hard to let go of being right. And I think you and I, especially, a lot of the pushing against, it's not so much pushing against, but a lot of my, this is how hard I work, is about me needing to be right, me needing to be hardworking, because hardworking is right. Right being synonymous with good, I guess.
Yeah. And mine is more like, don't overlook me, don't underestimate me, don't hear me. I have things to say. And because every time, like in the example of when Brad comes home, I feel like I have to list out all the things to show that I'm worthy, that I've done my things. And then he interrupts, all the stuff you brought, the stuff we brought up. That's all different things. And even just fighting against people, no, listen to what I have to say, because I don't feel like anybody's really listening to me. And so I would fight against people in my career, so that so that I could stand out and they couldn't. And this feeling of competing against them, I have to squash you in order for me to be able to shine, when instead of everybody can just live in this world, which is, as you were saying that too, it's, if the goal, and I've said this to people too that are struggling in their life or their career, I'm like, look, all the universe wants you to be is happy. So if you're not happy, do something that makes you happy. Just do something that makes you happy. And I do think, because I always put it in terms of the issues plaguing humanity right now, because I'd love to be able to jump in and help solve them. And to me, it's I can clearly see, I was watching one of my favorite political social issue discourse shows last night. Brad can't watch them, which is fine. I'm realizing too, it used to be, I would turn him off and not listen to him. And now I'm just nope, I'm going to continue to watch. You go do whatever you want to do, which is big. That's huge. But anyways,
why would he not watch them?
They make him feel bad about everything.
I'm so glad he's got that awareness.
Yeah. I'm so glad he's got that awareness.
That.
And that he felt like he walked away. Yeah. I was happy that I didn't feel the need to turn it off myself, that I didn't, because I wanted to watch it. I wanted to hear what everybody had to say. And I've been enjoying that. Look at all the people that are really trying to make a difference and make a change with the way that they know how. And it may not, okay, so in 3D terms, it may not be perfect. It may not be the best solution, but for right now, it's what we've got, and it's actually really good. And maybe and so what happens is at end of most episodes of this conversation that this gentleman will have, he's actually oh, well, you have been giving me hope, because he comes into it being all negative. And then he talks to several people that are no, look, we're trying this. And then look at it in terms of perspective of 10 years ago, look where we are, look what's happening. Things are shifting. And yeah. And so I'm just oh, okay, then I'm just watching people and trying to honor that, everybody's doing the absolute best they can. I may not agree with them, and that's okay, because that doesn't have to.
Exactly. That's the big key, I think. I haven't really had the opportunity. Well, that's nonsense, an opportunity every single day, isn't there? But that's just it. That's who was it? I don't know if it was part of the Matt Khan, or whether it was something else. Was all this about exactly that? Look at all these people. Look at how different they are. Mm-hmm. Isn't it marvelous? Mm-hmm. End of. Don't compare. Don't judge. Don't, because none of that matters. Therein lies all our unhappiness, but you're not doing it my way. Oh, that was it. I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and they were saying how exactly that, and they were saying that actually during COVID, what has happened it's a bit behind. Mind you, we're still in COVID here. What has happened, or what people are learning, is that everybody has a take on something, and you can't all be right and you can't all be wrong. And actually, the only way through this now is I'm gonna have to just do with what I need to do and stop comparing, judging, criticizing what other people are doing, because there is no solution. There is no universal agreement on how to move forward through this, and there never will be. And it's brought to the foreground the fact that people just have to learn to go, that's your opinion, I respect your opinion, I'm going to do my stuff over here, because it's brought out so much conflict, if you like, in everyday things, how we do things, how we see things, how we judge things, how we measure things, how we value things. And there is no solution, because we all see it differently.
Yeah. I will say, when we put all of that on the table, like say we were to all talk about something and put it all on the table, I'm confident that at least one thread will be true for all. And in that thread, then the next step can be taken together. That's how I feel. Because I do find it too. I feel like there's just been this, and I do think COVID has kind of opened this up, because there was this, you say this, so la, 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 and then I'm going to shoot you down. And then I'm going to talk, but you're not even going to hear me, but I'm still going to try and talk. And then the shouting over each other, and you could just see the big, Berlin Wall being built between both sides. And it's when that wall is actually gone and people actually don't even realize that they're on opposite sides, if you will. And they actually just have a conversation. And then later on, they realize, oh my gosh, you're a completely different mindset. They've already been able to overcome it and begin and hopefully still have conversations. I've seen it more than once, but yeah, but there's a lot of letting go. I knew there was a reason why I kept, like you were saying, I knew there was a reason why I kept getting served this letting go. And it's been that song from Frozen's been singing in my head too. And I'm just like, what? Let go of what? Let go of what? Like I keep walking around going, what? And then I get
go of the need to, yeah, there are so many things to let go of, but yeah. So, I mean, the one we've covered here probably is the letting go of living up to expectations, letting go of proving and justifying, letting go of the need to be anything, actually.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the moment I think to myself, like right now, and then also it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I got it, sure, letting go. Okay, but I got bills to pay. Like that's the next thing that comes up, right? And I know this to be true, that when I look at my budget and I see that there's a shortfall, every single time, when I'm like, oh, I see the shortfall, okay, I acknowledge your power. And, I ask my guides, do I need to worry about this? Of course I get no every single time. No worry. Worry doesn't help anything. But every single time something will happen and that deficit becomes a positive. Something happens.
So what that's saying to me, Julie, is if you want to be a millionaire, you need to make your deficits bigger.
Oh God, no. No. Oh, no. That's interesting though that you say that, because, okay, so I love period dramas, right? And so we just finished watching The Gilded Age on HBO. Loved it. Season finale last night. Fabulous. So beautiful. And I loved, and I'm just curious what my past life was in that era, if I had one. And then we've been watching Sanditon, which is a Jane Austen novel. It was created in England in 2019 and they canceled it. And then they decided to bring it back because then it found an audience, I think possibly through, I know there's an audience here, but I think elsewhere anyway. But the way that people managed money is fascinating to me back then, because like this one guy in Sanditon, he wants to build out his town as a great seaside resort that it isn't at the time. So he gets the rich woman in town to invest in him. And then because he's not that careful with money, he ends up not being able to pay his laborers. He doesn't take insurance out on the building that he's building, and it gets destroyed by fire and all these things. And so he's going to be bankrupt. But at the same time, other people will give him more money. And then even now that I say this out loud, then I'm watching Inventing Anna on Netflix, or did watch. And there's a statement made by a banker, a British banker, and she says, rich people never use their own money when they build something. The banks know that they are good for it and loan them more. And I'm like, that's not how it works for me. But, yes.
Oh my God.
But what you just said, I'm like, oh, bigger deficits, bigger.
As Abraham would say, the bigger the pull on the money, the more money will be created. And the reason it doesn't work for you, Julie, is because you went, oh! You have to be like, fucking bring it on.
Yeah.
That's, again, you can't this is letting go. If you could just go, fuck it. I trust that when my marquee goes up and I need £1 million, that there'll be £1 million in my bank. It would be. It is as easy to create a castle as it is to create a button. Mm-hmm. It's just that we have more resistance to castles. Mm-hmm. So whilst you trust the universe to show up with your, I don't know, $400 deficit for your boiler installment or whatever, you don't have the same faith to take out £1 million mortgage.
No, I do not.
Yeah, people who borrow money, they also can't fail. Banks invest that much money into them, they can't let them go under, so they just keep giving them more.
Crazy. Yeah.
There's a sense of entitlement there as well, which works for people. Yeah, but I think we wrapped that up quite.
Sorry, what?
I was going to say, I think we wrapped that up quite nicely, but I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to say Abraham Hicks talks about that too. She has been of the podcast lately. It's just like, yeah, wealthy people walk in going, I'm wealthy. Like, I have it. So I guess get more, because they stand in that place of wealth. And I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. Lots of food for thought. Thank you for that.
Thank you. You brought it up.
I did.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Making Light. I'm Judy Hurt. I'm not Judy Hurt.
You can be, well, technically we're all connected metaphysically. So
we're all the same, yeah. I'm Judy Hurt and I'm Kate Fogger, and so is she. So I'm Kate Fogger, this is Judy Hurt. We are Making Light, two humans being ridiculous.